Hello and welcome back to our YouTube channel, guys. I hope everyone is doing well. So, guys, today we are gathered here for the webinar on Maya Bifrost. Those who don't know about it, generates effects like explosions, fire, smoke, these kind of stuffs. So, we have our speaker with us also, Abhishek sir, who will take the lead on the webinar. Sir has 13 plus year of experience in the AVGC industry, including production and academic. Also, sir has taught 1000 plus students who are working professional in various companies right now. So that is an achievement for all of us. Before we begin, I would like to remind those who have not subscribed to our channel right now, kindly do so. Click our click our bell icon and also do subscribe and click the bell icon to receive notifications for our upcoming webinars. So, guys, without wasting any time, I would like to call our speaker on the panel. So, yeah, Abhishek sir, how are you
Yes,
right now? Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
absolutely fine. Thank you, sir.
yes. So, just audience just want to know something about yourself, your experience, and also if you can just guide them a brief about this entire webinar, so it would be helpful to understand. Yeah,
Definitely, sir.
yes,
Sure, I would like to take this opportunity.
yes,
My name is Abhijeet Delhi, and I have been in this industry, as rightly said by sir, for 13 past years. It has been a good journey. I've been a 3D generalist myself. I have used Maya for most of my career.
yes,
I
sir.
have majorly contributed to advertisement field,
Yeah,
creating corporate AVs and videos for kids for YouTube
yes,
channel.
great,
So
sir.
yes, it has
Yes.
been a wild journey for me.
Yeah, yeah, that will be great. So, what is the today's agenda? If you can just guide the audience here.
Absolutely. So we have
Yes,
got Bifrost today. This is
yes,
something very interesting, and
yes, sir.
it is an important topic for everyone to know at least.
Yes,
What
sir.
happens is we are pretty much occupied with what software has to offer. Like
Yes,
we
sir.
do modeling, texturing, lighting, rigging, animation, dynamics inside
Yes,
of Maya. But we are leaving out this different topic that is Bifrost, which not many people are talking about. Well,
yes,
I
sir.
am here to bring that awareness in front of everyone,
Yeah,
and hopefully you all like this video and the content that I've got ready for you.
sure, sir. Definitely. So,
Yeah.
what we can do without wasting any time, just stage is yours. You can start the webinar. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much,
Yeah.
Kamran sir. It was
Thank you so
a
much.
great
Yeah.
speech from
Yeah.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So I'll start with presenting my screen first. And I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So, just a little bit about where I am from. So, I'm working with Trishita Engineering LLP. We are the channel partner with Autodesk, and many clients we provide the licenses for Autodesk products. Hence, I have taken this opportunity to work as a technical solution specialist with Trishita, and I help in multiple case scenarios for the for our clients. So, be it installation of the licenses, be it orientation for newcomers that people join in the new studios, and helping them with troubleshooting different errors. So, of course, there are many errors that we come across when we are using multiple different softwares. I try to, like take those problems and solve it for our clients. So, after letting you all know about who I am, we'll just dive into this beautiful thing that is Bifrost. So I won't really make this too much like slides kind of a thing. I'll keep it interactive, like interactive in the sense you will be able to watch videos as well as you'll hear me as we go through the slides and pretty much bring up most of the information right to you guys. So, what is Bifrost in a nutshell? It's a powerful node based visual effects system that allows you to create stunning effects within Maya. The best part about Bifrost is that it comes along with basic Maya software. So when we download Maya, we do not have to install or like bring on Bifrost as an add-on. It is already pre-installed. We just have to turn it on. that is using the plugin manager. It provides a flexible and intuitive framework for building custom effects, including smoke and fire, explosions, sand and snow, instances as well. When we say instances, meaning you want to scatter, one wants to scatter trees or pebbles, stones, anything on a specific environment, it's a pretty interesting tool to use to create complex scene with large number of objects using instancing techniques. So that's pretty interesting. Now let's see what are the things that we can come across when we are talking about Bifrost. So I'd like to play this small video for you guys, and this should, show off the power of Bifrost. So here it is for you guys. It's absolutely fine if you all don't hear anything. This is more of a visual thing that I wanted to share rather than the audio part. So everything that you see right now are the possible procedural things that we can create using Bifrost. It is not limited only till effects like smoke, fire, explosions, but we can also do a lot of particle cloth effects as well. Bifrost has been started since 2015, which is inculcated into Maya. And since then, they have upgraded the process and made it very strong procedural tool, I can say, with which we can create amazing effects. Now, as this video plays, I would like to also inform you guys that this software is a lot technical. Again, there are two parts of the brains of an artist. One is the artistic creative side, and one is the logic side. And this technical logic side is what Bifrost is more dominant on. So it's absolutely okay if looking at the nodes, you all feel scared or anything at the start. I assure you that I'll make it very easy and simple for you guys. So these are one of the beautiful work. There we are. Okay, so let's break down Bifrost and who uses Bifrost, right? We will have these questions answered. Who uses Bifrost? How we can use Bifrost for modeling, rigging, and dynamics. So that's how we are going to go in the flow. This is a small little thing which is created inside Bifrost. Yeah, that's pretty cute. Fine. So the first question comes, who uses Bifrost? Bifrost is used by 3D artists and technical directors at animation, visual effects, and game development studios. Now, these things are pretty much on the trend right now. So right now, I'd like to show you a short making from the film Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. This is where they have used Bifrost in specific places. And look at the beautiful output that they have come up with. The studio's name is Pixomondo, by the way. The complex designs. That's beautiful work from Pixamondo, by the way. So going next, we also have another slide. I'll just like to push myself forward with another thing. The next point is modeling with Bifrost. Bifrost, like we just saw, there were many modeling parts which were uh, demonstrated by Pixamondo for the film, and it was using Bifrost. Hence, it is proof that it is not only meant for effects part, we can also do a lot of modeling part with this. And the best part is it is procedural. We haven't seen how Bifrost really looks like, but we will put a short hands-on as this session proceeds. So just this is a beautiful output created inside Bifrost again. The cheese and the pieces of cheese that we can see are all created using procedural technique. We can change their shapes and it will still be of the same shape. Like the same design will be presented on the model. We don't really have to model each and every details of this. We just need to create those type of designs using the node technique. Nodes really helps us to like play around, and how we want the output can be curated as per the nodes that are present inside Bifrost. So this is one level of output. Another is a beautiful output again using Bifrost. You can see it's a part of a cliff and it has vegetation on that as well. It has a humorous amount of possibilities in creating this output. We'll just go to the next slide. We have a lot for rigging as well. Bifrost is good at rigging. They are coming up with new tools where we can create amazing effects using rigs. Like over here, you can see that we have multiple copies of the same rig. We can create a centipede kind of an effect. Again, this is all procedural. You don't have to animate them with your legs. All you have to do is just move, and the character will start moving according to its legs movement. We can create multiple characters. Crowd simulation. We have skeleton converters, convert the skeletons to strands. We can use them for a lot of reasons, for a lot of things. USD is another thing that has a good like collaboration with Bifrost, good integration, I would say. You can see we have world matrix nodes over there. Maya 2025 comes with ML rigging concept as well, ML deformer. Even that is a pretty good, interesting thing. Matrix based rigging nodes. This is a simple look at system which is created using the nodes that we can see to the left of the screen. We can really make it very complex. So that's something. Apart from that, procedural rigging is also a concept now. Possible to mix dynamic elements like mesh into rigging. That's where we can see over here the effect. The first video from the top is going to start playing. You can see the cloth-like effect being used here. They have used the dynamic property of mesh, which is then connected with Bifrost to give it a feel of cloth. And this is not using encloth at all. It's not using the cloth properties or the dynamic properties of a cloth. It's just using mesh. It's being converted into dynamic part of the mesh, and then mix it with Bifrost when rigging. You can create amazing output. We can make complex compounds for other artists. Now, the beauty of Bifrost is when we create a sequence of nodes together, we can compile them into a group. Now, this group is independent. We can share this sort of a group with any other artist sitting anywhere in the world. That person has to just install it in their computer, like inside the Maya. They will get the same amount, the same sequence of nodes with them. So it sort of becomes a preset which we can use every time. Meaning, even artists who do not know about coding at all can still use the software very efficiently. So can make complex compounds for other artists, increase the level of complexity without performance hit. Remember, everything that we create inside of Bifrost is not contributing to the file size of Maya. Maya file size will really remain to its minimum, because none of the files that we are creating inside Bifrost is contributing to the file size of Maya. Easy to iterate and debug, we can constantly, because it's a node based system. Okay, I'll just play the next video as I speak. Because this is a node based system, we can anytime go back to another node and just replace it with the existing node, and still your output is going to remain the same. It will tweak it as per the node that we have replaced it with. And if I bring it down, it's on zip. Alright, so this is another video that I just got a hand on. It's a pretty interesting thing. It's more like a cloth kind of an effect that you can see. It's a zip effect. And I've had it somewhere. Okay, just stop it there. Keeps the rig usable by animators, because it is animator friendly as well. Once the rig is ready, we give the same controls like we do normally, the traditional way. Freedom to create custom controls is because because this is procedural, we can do a lot of things. We can switch between the controls as well. IK/FK system will not remain the same. It will be like a snap. You won't have to do all sort of things that we do as of today. It's going to be a lot easier. But of course, until unless we do not see Bifrost, we are not going to really understand as to what I'm trying to say here. So let's just move on with the most interesting part, and that is dynamics. Of course, it's very strong with it. So here we are. We have some outputs that I've collected. Everything is created inside Bifrost directly. So the vortex kind of an effect that we can see right now is also created inside here. I just play it once more. The electric kind of an effect is used using plexus effect that we get. We can start emitting particles out of those points that we can collect. Pretty much a usable file. Similarly, there is another output that I could create one. Again, everything over here that we see is completely created inside Bifrost. The character was already animation baked. All I had to do was use two locators in my two hands and just to do the animation with emitting particles. This is a cute little video, really shows the power of Bifrost. You can see that it looks a lot like a cloth effect, because technically speaking, it gives us an effect of cloth. This is using particle effect, by the way. So it's like a volumized particle base, which is stuck together as what do we call it? The stickiness of the property of this object. We can see on the left top video. It's that type of an effect. It's like particles stuck together. It's a beautiful process again. And mind you, everything is created inside Bifrost directly. Bifrost is good at handling heavy files as well. This is another file. Of course, we know about smoke, fire, explosion. Bifrost really creates it very well. So who is this Bifrost for? There is one thing. People are learning Houdini today. We have a big competition with Houdini, of course. Houdini is a wonderful software. We are not comparing softwares again. Because we are artists, we never compare softwares, right? We do not want to know which software is good or not. We always look at the output. What type of an artist can use what type of software? That is all that matters. And right now, I would like to say that if you know Maya right now, if you're planning on learning Houdini, it's going to take you some time to learn that. Whereas Bifrost is a part of Maya, and it works on the same fundamental, that is the Python, the codes, the nodes thing, which is also the case with Houdini. Definitely, people who are finding it difficult to learn or understand Houdini in the start can put their hands on this concept of Bifrost. This will put them at ease, because knowing the software technically, like Maya software, it gives us a confidence that we can learn Bifrost very easily. And that is what exactly I'm here for. I'm here to give you all a small demonstration on the software So we can understand what is the level of difficulty that we need to anticipate when learning Bifrost. Is it going to be too difficult or is it not? I'll just explain everything that I have with you, like for me to show you guys. So let's see how it goes. There is another wonderful artist who have created this output. I took it from YouTube, of course. This is how it looks. That's a short clip. Another one created by this artist. I have recreated this file, and once I have done that, I don't have to ever make it again because I can make it as a preset. All I have to do now, everything that I have created, I'll show you the video first and then I'll talk about it. This is the file. So about this file, I'll just replay one second. Perfect. So about this file, I have already created this file. I have not done the shading and the lighting part, but I have done the whole part of creating this process. Once this process is created inside Bifrost by me, all I have to do is make it as a preset file and I can share it with anyone, whoever wants it. All they have to do is just import that single file inside Bifrost graph. All they have to do is correct an input and an output and you get the output ready. Like it's that simple. We will understand that better as we go ahead. So that's a short um, presentation that I could curate for you guys. So if you all are ready to put your hands on fire, just like in this video, this file is created by me to give you all an idea of how this thing really works. If you all understood what's happening in the scene, it's sort of a hot object coming close to the body. Where it's closest is the place from where the fire is emitting. And this is absolutely interactive. This is procedural. I can change the hand and replace it with some other object. I can replace the sun and replace it with some other object. So it's done. Once created, it's done. All the effects remains the same. So I hope this content was useful for you all to understand what Bifrost is. Now let me quickly take you all towards the software called as Maya. Of course, that is where we have our sorry for that. Yes, so that is where we have our Bifrost hiding in. This is a simple new Maya file. I've done nothing so far. I'd like to show you all a few examples. So let's start with a new scene so everything's new here. Let me take up a file first to give you all an idea. Okay, I'll show you what I have. So there is this nice interesting file that I could create once. Right now, you see this is a normal character. I'll change the background to something subtle. And what we can see here is it is sort of wearing hair. And when I'm moving it, you can see that it's sort of voxelized, right? And you're not wrong because it is voxelized. It's not a final mesh, right? It doesn't really look that good, right? It's like better than most of the students can create. But the fun part is that this hair is just the visual thing. Actually, it's not. So I'm controlling this object using some close proximity object. You can see what's happening right now. So what I'm doing right now is of an important thing for you guys to understand. I have an object which is hidden here. Let's understand this concept first, and then I'll take you all through how I made this thing possible. This object, that is a sphere, I will call it, and the head, that's what we are going to name them. When this object is far away, you can see that it's not affecting the body at all. But now when this object starts getting closer, it sort of starts creating this effect. It's another type of a mesh. Probably it's a volume right now, which is created on the face of this character. How is this happening? It's sort of every vertex is shooting some sort of a casting effect, ray casting effect onto the head. The moment it gets closer, there is another set of object which starts generating. I can really make this fire, this property that you can see here, it's a volume right now. I can turn it into fire. I can emit particles from here. I can emit smoke from here, anything and everything possible. So this is like a close proximity kind of a thing. This is the same concept that I used when creating the hand effect that you could see. I had fire on it. Now, this is what I'm going to be covering today. There are a lot of things that needs to be covered if you want to completely understand what Bifrost is capable for. But as of now, it's too much for us to like go through the limited time. So I like to keep it short and sweet for you guys to just understand the power of Bifrost, so you all can like plan on learning it. Yeah, so that's when I just placed it in a way that it doesn't look weird and still call it as a hair. So yeah, something of this sort. That's how I just placed it and I saved the file. Now, how is this happening? This is happening using a Bifrost graph. Now, that's what I'm going to open up right now. So just to show you all a brief about how Bifrost really looks like, well, it looks something like this. A series of nodes, just like I said. They are all connected together. If you're convenient and comfortable and aware about what hypershade is, this is similar to that concept. It's very similar. It's just that we are using it with different type of nodes. Names are not the same. Everything is different in the sense of its attribute. So I have my attribute set to the left side of the screen right now. I like to stick this up next to my screen here. Yeah, I found that. Awesome. So here I can see both of them, the viewport as well as my Bifrost graph. And this is how things really start. You connecting nodes one after the other and then finally reaching to a common output. Now, in order to understand how should we start creating this, let me explain you what Bifrost is, what are nodes and how to work around with them. So let me have a new scene first. This is a new scene. There is nothing inside this scene, and my Bifrost says Bifrost is a visual programming framework for 3D graphics. We have create graph option here. Just to let you know, if you cannot find the Bifrost graph editor under your so-called as create button inside Maya, you probably might want to go ahead and check in your plugin manager and make sure you have your Bifrost options all loaded. I can see I have two of them off. So I'll just turn them on. That's it. So clicking on create button, we get to create a Bifrost graph. Now, this is the place where it starts from. How do we do this? What do we look for? Before we move on with any of these things, let me explain you a very simple concept that I usually used to do when I was into the education sector. I used to teach this first thing to my students, and that is the importance of knowing a little informative thing that you can see on the screen right now. In fact, I'd like to expand this to the fullest so it's clear. Even if you're watching this video on the mobile phone, you can still see it. There we are. Very important information before we start with this technical stuff. Everything needs to be understood well. The concepts needs to be understood well. So here I start with it. Just to give you a brief. We have functions. Float is a function and it is defined with a number having a decimal point. We have integer, that are the whole numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, something we call it as the segments assigned to the object. Right? We cannot have 1.5 segment on a sphere. We have either 1 or 2. String is the data when we store the name of an object, say for example, I create a pq1 and I name it as box. So where does that box get saved? It's saved under a function named as string. Then we have vector function. We have three channels, that is X, Y, Z, RGB, or we can also consider UVW. It also defines direction. Of course, direction X, Y, Z are the directions that we have inside a 3D application, right? That's a vector function. Then we have a scalar function. It's a single value property where we can give it to as magnitude or a temperature, 32 degrees, 50 degrees. It's a single value. These are called as scalar functions or scalar fields. We'll talk about them if we come across them. And last but not the least, these are just few, okay? There are many. These are just few that I wanted to bring up forward to you guys, that it's good to understand these things first. We have a bool function. That's something what we call as boolean, right? We have used it in our modeling process, but do we know exactly what it is? Well, it is a 0 or 1, sort of a switch, is the function called as boolean, where we have yes or no or true or false, or a checkbox that we click on are the bool functions. That's how technical this Bifrost is going to be. We need to know exactly what we are talking about. Say, for example, if you are talking about vector, three channels of X, Y, Z, we have it over here. Like, say, for example, if I select a cube right now, and if I check at its property, well, we can see right here, we have width. If I change its width, we can stop at an integer, sorry, at a float function. That is 1.3. But when we go to the subdivisions like on a width, I cannot enter 1.5. It's just not going to take it. Right? And similarly, like I told you, that we have a bool function. If this object over here, where we have the visibility tool, we call it as on, right? But if I type false, it's still gonna turn off. If I'm gonna type yes in the visibility, it's still gonna turn on. It's a bool function. It requires either one, either 0 or 1, yes or no. You give it the information, it's gonna take it off. If I'm gonna call it as false, it's still gonna turn off. A very common feature, but neglected by many. Fine. So once this level of basic information is away, we can start understanding how Bifrost can be used inside Maya. So let's take a closer look now. I'm gonna connect Bifrost with my screen here, and I'm gonna call it as create graph. When I click on create graph, it's gonna give me two tools here. That's going to be the input and the output. Nothing else, because the rest of the things is by us. So this is sort of a workbench for us. We are going to start creating multiple nodes. First, let's understand what we can do inside the viewport. Well, we can bring in a simple object. Say, for example, I've gotten a cube. Remember, with my outline, in my outliner, I can see it's called as a pcube1, and I have a Bifrost graph 1. That's it. I want to bring that inside my graph because I will want to do certain things with it. Well, for that case, I can bring in right now. Another information that you need to focus on is with the polycount system that I have here. When I have deselected, you can see there is nothing in the center line. But the moment I select, I have exactly 12 edges, 6 faces, 12 triangles, 14 UVs. Don't worry about the UVs right now. But we have this information which is being contributed to Maya, right? I can drag and drop this object here. And once I do that, I can connect this to an output. Well, what I did was, I did a middle mouse click and drag and brought it inside Bifrost graph. What this does is, this creates another instance. So now, if I select my pcube1, and if I move it aside, well, you should be able to see this, but it won't be possible. If I hide it, you will see that I can still see the cube here. And that cube is none other than the Bifrost cube, created exactly as the image suggests from the actual cube. So this is our actual cube right now, which is hidden. Shift H, we have it here, but if we move that, we are moving the internal object as well. This is one way to get an object inside a Bifrost. Let me remove that for now. Now we have only one, of course. I'll delete the cube that we have created. Let's know, let's create something from within Bifrost. I want to create the same cube. So now everything is very manual. Like it is very easy to click on create, navigate to polygon primitive, and then click on cube. It's the simplest process. Now we are gonna go behind the scene and do it all manually. Tab is the button I would like to use, is the button to be used for bringing up the menu. Well, I call it a menu. So I'll click on create, and then we can see we have create multiple objects. Or I can search the opposite thing, that is cube. So we should find mesh cube here. And now if I connect this cube to the output by dragging this sort of a connector to the output, we can see the output here. And this is where I want to bring your attention to is, right now, this cube is not contributing anything to the Maya. Maya is not considering this as an object. This is a Bifrost graph. This doesn't belong to Maya. This belongs to Bifrost. It's a separate engine altogether. Hence, nothing is contributed here. So now if I have to make thousands of copies of this cube, still Maya is not going to consider these objects and consider it heavy. It's going to be still lightweight. Anyways, so this is where we are. I'd like to turn on the wireframe, on shaded. So this is the cube. We have the size here, but we do not have the other properties. Well, let's see if I can go for create mesh cube. Now this is the cube property where we can see they have all sort of things or attributes that we require. So now I'm going to delete this. I've gotten a create mesh cube and I'm connecting it to the output. The moment I do that, again, I see a cube. I can change its length, width, height, from within Bifrost, not from Maya, because Maya, this object doesn't exist. For Maya, it is only Bifrost graph that exists. That's one unit. That's it. Now, if I bring in thousands of different objects inside this here, it's still not going to consider. It's still going to consider only one Bifrost graph. That's it. Going forward, we can change its position. X, Y, Z. There are three things that we have. Right? So we can move them from within Bifrost. It will be wrong to move the whole Bifrost graph because that's going to spoil everything. We do not want to move or rotate so-called as Bifrost graph. We need to do it from within the attribute editor or the parameters of Bifrost graph within them. Similarly, we have something very new, that's tags, create tags. We can create tags and we can assign it to a specific polygon. That's pretty strong as a tool. But as of now, let's just stick to this concept of Bifrost. So you just saw that I created this object here. Now, apart from this, what we can do? Well, there are many things that we can do. Well, let's say I bring in a plane, a simple plane. Okay. I'll click on create mesh plane. And I can connect it with the output. You can see that we have it here. Now, there are things that we need to understand. We can do a lot of things. We can search for scatter points, or we can say get point positions. Get point position. Closest point? No, it is as simple as GPP. Just trying it full form. And now I can connect this over here. What I'm doing is I'll first do it and then I'll show you. I remove this, I'll delete this port. In fact, you won't see it for now, but the plane already exists. It's just not connected with the output right now. And I'm going to go for point scope. Okay, point scope on this object rather. Fine. So we can work with this then. Don't have to get the points right now. There we are. The default size is gonna get smaller. Right now, what we can see here is what I did is I created a scope. Scope is something like a vision through which we can see invisible things. Say, for example, you want to see a normals of a polygon. What do we have to do? We have to go to the display and then turn it on, right? Vertex normal, face normals. These are the invisible properties, which does not needs to be, like seen when we are rendering. So these are the invisible properties. Similarly, point is also an invisible property. Hence, we can use point scope to visualize them. So that's how we can start bringing in. What did I do here was, I took up a plane now, right? We have segments here. The more segments that I create, the more vertices are generated. The more vertices are generated, the more points we can see. This is just a simple example of what this tool can do, right? So we have it over here, the point scope. We can change a lot of properties of this. We can enable arrows and everything. Won't be visible right now. But let me just go ahead and show you a small example. I just gave you a small introduction to how things work. So every connection that is connected to the output, you will see it directly over here. Just to let you all know, we also have a tool called as terminal. Terminal works just like we have the output. So if I connect the output plane mesh and put it into a proxy, we will be able to see it over here. And if I put this into diagnostics, we can still see the output. Even if I do not have the output node itself, terminal does that thing for me. This is my final output that is visible only when we are rendering. Proxy is when we are using an object just for the visualization purpose, or if we want to see it how it looks in the viewport directly. Diagnostics are again the invisible things. Say, for example, if I'm working with a velocity, how much is the velocity will be displayed with an arrow. So those are the diagnostic properties, just like these points. So if I remove them right now, we won't be able to see them, but they exist. It's just that we are not watching them. So we need to connect them to a diagnostics. And we can similarly just turn off final, proxy, and diagnostics whenever we want. This is sort of an advanced terminal node as compared to output, which is very simple. So that's how nodes really work. Now let me take you all one step further and open up a file that I showed you where we can get our hands on fire. So let's start up with that file first. So I have a full and final file over here. I'll just open that up for you. And this is where I will be explaining you the majority of the part, as in why we used certain type of nodes and what was the idea behind using these nodes. I'm not asking you all to buy hard these nodes. It is more about trying these out and to understand why these nodes were used at the first place. In fact, I'll do the same concept along with this file as we explore them and do it with a very simple idea. And for this, I'd like to take up a simple file that I just created. And I have it over here. Just give me a second. I'd like to open up the file. Just go home and run fire. Yes, it was this one. No, that's okay. Okay, my screen has actually frozen up. Give me a quick second and I'll be right back. Really sorry for this. Okay, am I visible right now?
No, sir. Actually, screen is not visible right now.
Okay, I'll be sharing it right
Yes.
now. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Really sorry for that. It was my screen which got frozen up. Had to reset it. Anyways, so here we are with this file, and let me just take you all through this process of creating it. So we'll do it over here, and this was a heavy file which I have just opened up. Nonetheless, we'll use it as simple concept of a sphere and plane. We're gonna do it over here. So right now, what we can see on our file over here with the hands on fire. Well, this is how it really looks like. I like to turn it black for the fire to be seen. I'll brighten up the scene once so we can just see, or maybe add another light right from here. No, it's not visible. Fine, anyways. So we'll just wait for the cube, the sphere, the sun, the bright part to come closer to the hand first. And as it comes closer, you can see that we can have fire exactly created from the place where the sun is closest, right? This is visible in the video as well that I played before. So you can see the closeness is bringing up the fire only in those areas. As this object goes below or up, it's going to change accordingly, and only the points on the hands which are closest to this object will get, will emit smoke. So in order to create this, we are using a very simple concept, and I'd like to bring that up for you guys. Just a second. It's going to take a while to play this because it's quite heavy. It's smoke, of course. So let's open up the graph and see what we have here. I've just cutely named them and numbered them with the stages, so it makes it easier and achievable for every one of us. So we'll just start from here. We require a driver and the driven. What we are going to do is we are going to start creating the same thing on our simple file here. So consider this as the sun or the driver, who is going to be invisible maybe. So we'll name it as driver, and this is going to be so called as the ground. And let's start. First of all, on this ground plane, this is created from Maya itself, the sphere and the ground both. I'll use the ground and I'll increase its segments first. So let's have more segments to work with. Similarly, I will have more segments on my sphere. I can change this later on as well. I'm just doing it now for the sake of demonstration. Once this is done, I will want both of them to get inside a new created Bifrost graph. I cannot take them both together. Remember, do not drag them both together. It'll club them together and give us one node. We do not want that. We want to bring them individually. So we have driver and the ground. Again, this input is going to be useless for us right now. We're just going to remove that. Now, we have driver shape and ground shape. These are the shape which we are going to connect with our output. In order to do this, let's study what we have done here. So right now we are talking about the driver and only the driver. We are forgetting that we will keep ground apart right now. We'll just keep it to the side and focus on this. That is, let's understand the concept here. I'm showing you the way how we can move ahead for creating these type of connections. What do we want? We need to keep our end results very close to our mind, visualize it. When this object gets closer, it should sort of mark its place over here somewhere as it gets closer. The distance of closeness I can decide later. But right now what I want to do is I have a ground, I have an object. Once it starts getting closer to the ground, I want to give some sort of a way to figure out if it's close enough or not. How close enough is what we will set later. But let's understand that. So now, Bringing up our previous file, we have a node called as scatter by number. This helps us to generate some sort of number or information which can be scattered on the given object. So what are we going to do? We are going to do exactly what we just saw. We are going to scatter. So there is a node named as scatter. We're going to call it as scatter points. So we can see that we have here scatter points. Now that we have dragged our driver and the driven or the ground shape, we do not require outliner anymore. There is nothing going to be added here at all. So we're going to just bring in more space for our working, and we're going to keep this off as well as of now. Yeah. So now we can see we have the driver. We are not talking about ground right now, so we'll keep it aside. We're just focusing on what we need to do with the driver. So our concern is when we bring this object closer to the ground, we want some sort of connections to happen. We want it to detect the closeness. Which vertex is the closest, which point is the closest, is what we want to know. And for this purpose, first thing that we require is to generate points on this object. Remember, vertices are not points for Bifrost. Vertices are just points for the polygon, right? So we need to give Bifrost some information with which it can start considering the points. So what are we doing is we are scattering points. So this object, driver object, is passed on as the whole object towards the scatter by number field. So right now the scatter by number is having the whole sphere upon which it has done its part. What is its part? Its part is to scatter points on this object. And for scattering these objects, it is more of like how you want to scatter them. You want to scatter them randomly, or you want to scatter them how? We cannot see any points as of now on the sphere, can we? We can't. Hence, rather than an output, we will be using a terminal. On this terminal, we have something as diagnostics. Just put it over here. Okay. Can we see anything here? Let's just check. So if I turn my background to some certain specific color, we can see there are points inside. And yes, we do have points. Just need to figure out a way to visualize them. Black is the perfect color. So right now you can see that on the surface of this sphere, we have points visible. So what it's doing is we gave away the object that is the driver shape, that's the sphere. We gave it on to the scatter by number, scatter points node. What this has done is this has taken the whole sphere, it has placed its object, and now it's passing it on to the terminal through which we can see the visualization. I hope this is making simple information passing through you guys and making you guys understand what it is doing. It is amount mode with by what number you want it by density. There are multiple ways. Right now we can see we have 1000 points displayed on this sphere. So if I want to increase them, all I have to do is just drag, and we have more and more points here. More the points, more the calculation will be required as well. Hence, we'll keep it to minimum right now. That is 1000. 1000 is good. Now what next to this? We'll have to see. Well, let's understand what next needs to be done. So now what we are doing is, once the sphere is taken up by the scatter node, it needs to be now passed on to something else. We need to get those points position. When we talk about position, we are talking about the XYZ value of each and every point. Now that is important. So we are going to get all the points. So let's get point position. We'll do it over here. Get point position. The more you write, narrower is your search for the most. And we can see that we have colors here. Different colors means different things. Geolocation is more about the fields. The position is, the green color is more about the values. The points, or the purple color, the blue color, I don't know what color it is called, but this color really defines the object, the third color that you can see. It defines as an object property. So right now, this contains object. This needs to go into the geometry node, and the output here of the point position needs to go in something else. Where does it go? It goes into get closest location. Now this is an important node. So we'll click on get closest locations. What are we doing right now? We are getting all the points that we have on the object, knowing their positions. I'm gonna take it further and give those positions to my get closest location node. We took all the points that we have on the sphere, we got its position from the center of the grid, how far it is. We got that calculation, and now that calculation is given forward to get the closest location. Closest location will do two things, like it will require two things. One is the position itself, and the other is the object from whom should it be closest to, right? So we have sphere. Who's going to be the closest? It's going to be closest to the ground. The moment it comes closest to the ground, we need to calculate who is the closest. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our ground object here, the node that we had before. So now get closest location between the points from the sphere that we have got and the distance from the ground. We are going to start calculating that. So the moment we start getting close to the surface, it will start depicting or displaying the points which are closest. So remember one thing: these points that we have created right now have a ray cast which is being shot towards the location of the object, that is the ground, and the first one to hit the ground is going to be displayed. The others, which are still far away, are waiting for the object to get closer. So this is the whole logic behind creating these type of things. As of now, we are stuck here. Get closest location. Let's see next. We have a location scope. We want to visualize how the location scope really works. Well, for that, to visualize, we need location scope. And scope is against the lens, the looking at the invisible things. We'll connect them together. And this is asking for a diagnostic product object. So we are going to connect them over here. One second. Already had a connection here. I'll keep that. And we'll mix this along with it. Fine. So we have got this connected as a location scope. The moment this object gets closer, it should start displaying the properties, which we can, but it's not spread out through even. Not an issue to do that, because location scope also requires what geometry are we going to display it on. So I'm going to call it again from the same ground property. Where this needs to be displayed, it needs to be displayed on the geometry itself. And now the moment I connect that, we can see that we have a display of these points that we had, which are closest to the ground, is getting connected over here. And now you can see that the moment I take it further away than a specific distance, depending on what is its cutoff rate, you can see that it is sort of displaying only when it gets closer to the surface. We can see that. Just for the sake of keeping this lightweighted, I'm going to select the sphere. I can go back to its properties, reduce the number of segments that we have here. I'm just going to use what, like 10 by 10 maybe. The object gets smaller, but do you see that it's really not affecting the number of points that it's showing us? I'll click on 50 again. You see, it's only the circle, that's the circumference of the object is smoother now. But this was all connected using the so-called as the scatter property. If I have less points to display, it's going to show me less points. So if I have only 100 points spread out on the sphere, it's going to be only those 100 points when they're closer to the surface will be displaying the points on the surface. Now, this is how the things really starts getting interesting. We are absolutely free to do anything now. The moment we have this location scope, we are absolutely free that what do we want to do with these points? Do I want to emit particles? Do I want to emit smoke from it? Or do I want to emit strands? It can be literally anything. Possibilities are unlimited. And for this thing, what I'm going to show you here is we can bring up a basic graph. Just type basic. We have multiple different basic cloud. We have basic dynamic basic infection. Well, we have to create infection if you don't get it by default. But we have basic aerograph. Let me not do this right now. I'm going to be using the particle system first. So we have basic particle graph. It comes in with a single small node, looks cute, but what we have to do is right click and click on explode. That's going to open up to the whole actual thing that it requires. I'm going to be emitting particles when it comes closer to the surface, is what I have decided. Simulating particles, we have sources, it needs to be connected. We can recreate this by ourselves, but we get it as a preset. So it's good to use it. Colliders, if we want to collide them with some certain object, it can be anything, it can be the ground as well. And the solvers, where we can give some sort of combustion. Or not for this we will require combustion, but if we want to give any sort of fields like turbulence or anything into the particle system, we can do that. Now, this points that I have collected, I'm going to connect it to the source particle here. And then I can just click on play and you can see that the particles have already started to generate. Now, for me to show you guys even a better way of displaying this, I'll have to make one thing sure. It's way too far and still the points are visible. So I will bring up my so-called as the Bifrost graph, and I'm going to make sure that I reduce its cutoff distance. Right now it's 10 units. I'm going to reduce that to say like maybe 3 or something. Right. We can't see it right now. But the moment it gets closer, you can see that it's starting to show up. Right. And when it shows up, only then I want the particles to emit. That's what is going to happen. I'm going to quickly do a small piece of animation that can help us to know. So I'll want this object to come here quickly, as quickly as possible, the closest to the sphere or to the surface, and then quickly gonna bounce back as well. So it's gonna be closest to the ground only for like 3 frames, I guess. And now you can see what happens. Right? This object is gonna bounce up. Let me put 100 frames. Right, and you can see that the particles are falling down. And for me to protect them from falling down, what I'll have to do is I'll have to find the group ground node and I'll have to connect it to its collider as well. So here is the collider, and don't worry about these strings, they don't break. You can just connect them to the geometry of the collider and they should refrain from falling down. They still fell down because they were created at the center of this ground. So on this plane, it was created at the center. So some fell down and some are up. And now going forward, we can also control the whole particle system however we want. So that's the beauty of this. I have used it as a particle emitter, these points. I can now replicate them into something else like basic aero graph. This is an aero graph again, so we can explode them. And I can connect this with the source air of the simulate graph. I'm turning on my diagnostics so I can see what's going to happen. And now if I play this time, it's going to create sort of a particle, like a, not particle, sorry, the volume, the smoke kind of an effect. So this is how basically we go ahead and just start creating nodes after nodes. This is very self-explanatory. Once we know the nodes, like the list of these nodes that we have, it becomes quite an interesting way of creating your own output that you desire. Uh, there are hundreds of tutorials based on Bifrost, but at all, if you ever feel confused, remember it is more about a reverse engineering kind of a thing that is going to take you towards achieving what we want. So here I have done the same thing. I'll just take you all through this hand example that we can see here. This is where I have taken the driver and the driven. I've scattered the points on the sphere. I got their position from the center point, that is the zero axis, and I've got their positions, each and every points. I've got their positions. I gave it to the closest location. Closest location, collect all the points position that we have, and the opposing object. We have our hand in this case. So the hand was used. So now any point getting closest to this object is gonna start. It's gonna trigger and create a point on this object because of location scope. This then goes forward, and I put it up into a simulate arrow. That is the basic arrow graph that we just saw. Connecting it to that, I gave a little bit of dissipation, influence, voxel, fog density. That's when the smoke kind of a thing is more of a kind of a wispy cloud kind of a thing that you can see. I added a little bit of combustion for having more fiery effect to its base, and I assigned a material as well. So when we go here, we can also create our own materials. When you see material reference, meaning it's coming from our hypershade. When in hypershade, once we have created a material, we can middle mouse drag and drop it inside our Bifrost system directly. So this helps us to bring in the material that we want. We can always change it from here because it's a reference and it will work like a charm. We can press the tab button and search for volume as well. It has its own material as well. So we have Arnold standard volume material. And for this material, you can see it looks different. We have all sort of its properties right here with us. Got an idea? So that's how we can bring in a simple material. I attached it to a terminal for final for rendering and proxy for the viewport. And that's how we got to create an effect like this. Of course, it takes time. It requires a good computer with good memory and graphic power because Bifrost cannot take that away from us. Like, it will still take time to compute. It will still take time for bringing up the effects that we are looking at, and it will turn heavy. Remember to keep your timeline always on play every frame. That helps to evaluate every single frame, and there are no chances of file skipping the evaluation, creating an appropriate output. So, having this said, I think we are already beyond our time limit. But again, in a nutshell, just to repeat everything for once so it becomes clear for you guys, it's important to have a little bit of programming language idea. If you all know any of the languages, it becomes easier for you to grasp the knowledge that Bifrost has to offer. Hence, we just took up few details and just got an idea for. Then we saw that how links or the nodes can be connected together. Apart from this, we also saw the idea as to how we need to approach and how we need to create something. The best practice for you, for everyone to start with Bifrost, would be to visit Autodesk official channel, that is Autodesk Learning channel. Search for Bifrost. They have wonderful playlists already ready, waiting for you to give a try. Understand the nodes and the properties that it shares. There are multiple details or in-depth knowledge about every points and everything that we have here. So many tools, many options have right-click options furthermore, where we can create multiple things. So understanding these things and understanding what we want to create with a little bit of reverse engineering, we can absolutely create wonderful output. So I guess that's it from my end, and I'd like to end it with this video again. This is what I created for you guys, and that's it. Thank you very much for this session. So, Kamran sir,
Yeah,
if you can,
yeah. Sir, your camera is not visible. Yeah,
like, okay, one
yeah.
second, my camera should be visible. Stop cam, start cam.
Hello. I guess there is some network issue from Abhijeet sir side. So yeah, guys, I hope you all have understand the entire process that sir have taught right now about the entire Bifrost and the simulation process. And what we will suggest that you all can work on that. Just do practice on the Bifrost simulations. If you have any doubt, definitely you can connect with the sir also. So, with if you have any doubt right now, also you can write down in the comment section so we can address those answer little bit later. Yeah, I guess sir is there. Just one second. Yeah, Aditya, if you have any doubt, you can ask.
I'll be
Yeah,
more
Vijay
than
sir.
reason my camera is not working.
Not an issue, sir. So
Yeah. So in case if anyone have any sort of questions or doubts,
yes,
guys,
yes. There are some questions in the comment section, so I
okay.
can show it on the screen.
Yes, I can see.
There is one question: why so few studios using Bifrost in their workflow?
Right. So
Mm,
the answer to this is that people have majoritarily learned Houdini. Many companies are using Houdini as their primary workflow and pipeline. Hence, it becomes very difficult to, introduce a new pipeline all of a sudden. There are many few studios who are willing to go outside their comfort zone and try on the new technology. Hence, we can see that many few studios are really trying with Bifrost.
yes,
Similarly, it happens with the software as Blender. We see that it's still not mainstreamed in most of the studios. Most of the studios, I'll say, because there are very few studios who would want to change their whole concept of changing the workflow and the time um, scheduling things that they are doing. Like it's a pretty freezed in way of working. When they are switching from one project to other, it becomes very difficult to switch between the pipeline altogether. But nonetheless, Bifrost is coming up a lot faster. It's gaining popularity as well. It is only that Maya users who are pretty well versed with Maya can take the majority effect or like the possibilities of Bifrost, explore it furthermore if have good knowledge with any of the languages. I've also I got to speak with few Houdini artists who tried so-called as the Bifrost. According to them, Bifrost was comparatively simpler, was easier, and was less complex, is what I got to know. But please, anyone over here who have used Houdini, please use Bifrost once and let us know what you all feel about it. Right? So yes.
yeah, sure, sir. And there is one more question from Piyush.
Yeah.
Like, what are the limitations of Bifrost?
Limitations for Bifrost. I will
Yes,
say they are constantly improving. There is not much of a limitation as of now, but definitely the cache process is also everything inside Bifrost. But they could still bring in a little more optimized way of working with the cache files. But otherwise, Bifrost seems to be quite a powerful tool as of now. As far as limitation goes, it's just the exposure with the people using it is the limitation. Because once more people uses Bifrost, it'll get even more convenient for others to use it. So as of now, I will say there is minimum to no limitation as such. It is yet to be explored to its fullest.
yes. So I guess that's it because the questions are end right now. But definitely students have learned lots of things today. And
No, I
not only a student, I believe that I also learned lots of things today. So definitely after this session, from
correct.
tomorrow onwards, we can also start working on the Bifrost. And thank you so much, sir, for sharing this wonderful knowledge with the students and with the viewers.
It's my
And
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. And I totally
So,
understand,
yeah,
sir. This is
yeah,
quite a technical point and it
yes,
is
yes, yes,
not very easy to pass it through.
yes,
So
sir.
I encourage the viewers to please come up with more questions if you all have related to Bifrost at any
Yeah,
point. We will make sure that we answer you back with the most appropriate answers for that.
sure, sir, sure, definitely.
Yes.
So, all right, folks, then the fun part is over now. I hope you all have enjoyed the session. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe our channel, as I said before. Also, please click the bell icon to stay updated on upcoming webinars. And thank you so much for making the time for this webinar. And thank you so much, Abhijeet sir, for this wonderful session. So
Thank you very much,
yeah,
Kamran sir, for the
yeah.
opportunity.
So we can end this session right now and
Yes.
take care all. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.